Benjamin Franklin had come home to Philadelphia. The revolution was over. The peace treaty was signed. 60 years before, the young printer's apprentice from Boston had arrived in Philadelphia seeking his fortune. At 50, he was a successful printer, a writer, and a world-famous scientist. At 60, he was in England, representing the colonial cause. When his mission failed, he joined the revolution and signed the Declaration of Independence. At 70, as ambassador to the court of Louis XVI, he created a treaty with France that helped to defeat the English. Now, the Constitutional Convention was struggling to unify the new nation. And in the midst of the struggle was Benjamin Franklin.
Dear Aunt Jane, this summer has been the worst. Children, stop that. Stop it. Our quiet life ended when Pappy's ship from France came into Philadelphia harbor with the morning tide. I was in the garden when I heard the news, and I sat down on the wheelbarrow and wept. Little Debbie, who's 6 now, had never seen tears of joy and ran to ask me if I was sorry my papa had come home. I've meant to write ever since, Aunt Jane, but things here have been at 6s and 7s, and I haven't had a moment to myself. When he landed at Market Street Wharf, he found a crowd who'd been there since dawn. You've never heard such an uproar. Hurrahs, shouts at Franklin this and Franklin that. They set a cannon off. And as we walked home, with the crowd following behind, all the city bells rang out, remember? That first night, sitting by the fire with just the family, Pappy was firm about retiring from public life and devoting his last years to science and to us. But then the next day it started. The provost of the university came to pay a call, bringing all the professors with him. And he was followed by the officers of the militia and the fire company and the city mechanics and the constitutionalists and the anti-constitutionalists and I don't know who. Half of Philadelphia came that first week, and the other half has been coming in ever since. The upshot is that before we even got used to having Pappy at the dinner table with us, he was elected president of the Pennsylvania Assembly. So now he meets with men at all hours of the day and night. He's here, there, and everywhere with 100 projects. All summer he's been at the State House, where they're writing a constitution and making the laws for this new republic of theirs. And, of course, there are workmen here, tearing down and building up again. He'll never be satisfied with this house while he lives. And I do believe he'll outlive us all, such is his energy. So much for a life of solitude. Yours, affectionately, Sarah Beach. Yes, Pappy, I hear you. I'm coming.
And so I was often invited to Mrs. Reed's house and consulted with the family and their affairs. Oh, I pitied poor Deborah's unfortunate situation. This girl who was generally dejected, seldom cheerful, and avoided company. Where the devil is that elevation? Have you seen it?
Pappy, I'd like to finish this part.
And I, too. An ink tracing, Benny. A folio sheet.
Can't we stay with just one thing?
Yes, that's always been my intention. To fix on one thing at a time and be the master of that, and not try to swallow the whole of life at once. Perhaps swallowing the whole prevents neglect.
You would rather prattle on than work.
Oh, where were we?
This girl who was generally dejected.
Dejected, yes. And grave, too. Taciturn. She wore misery, like a shawl.
Why did you marry?
It seemed right. She was often agreeable. My shop was thriving. I needed assistance. And perhaps I'd carried back from London a pervasive sense of guilt for not having written to her. Huh? Perhaps that, eh? The guilt. Yes, write this down, Benny. I considered my giddiness and inconstancy while I was away in London as in a great degree the cause of her concern. However, our mutual affection was revived, and we ventured over all previous difficulties.
What difficulties?
Your grandmother had a previous husband.
I never heard that.
He abandoned her, fled to somewhere, and died.
Poor woman.
Well, the match was invalid. He had a wife living in London.
I might have been his grandson, mightn't I?
And I might have died prior to my own conception. Why do you fasten on such useless speculations? Now then, where were we?
We ventured over all previous difficulties.
And I took her to wife on September the 1st, 1730. Enough, Benny, enough.
Oh, let's fill up the page.
You are a gossip machine.
I love your history.
And what's mortifying beyond all aid is that I used to rattle and jangle just like you. Gossip and gabble, gossip and gabble. It rustled in my veins like secret applause. Benny, you are me all over again. Oh, can you imagine a world with two Ben Franklins?
You're veering off again, Grandpa.
How old am I?
81.
How far have we come in the story?
You married Grandma when you were 24.
Put it away. We've some 60 years to cover.
Oh, Pappy.
I have another problem gnawing at me.
This one last page. One page a day and we can do it.
Oh, your diligence will yet mother my written life.
And your written life will be proof to history that we weren't just a pair of sluggards.
All right, take a clean page. Write this down. Mr. Kyle.
Good morning, Dr. Franklin.
I cannot find that new elevation.
The tunnel.
Of the tunnel.
I have it.
There are some measurements that I'm not sure of. Need looking over.
I'll hold off then and work on the gutters first.
Fine.
Grandpa.
It's all right, Benny. It's all right.
You don't look well.
I know I don't look well. Don't involve me in things I already know. Right, Benny, right. Terms requiring further inquiry and fuller definition. Conductor, electrical shock, condenser, battery, armature, A-R-M-A-T-U-R-E.
Nice word. Lovely word.
You know what it means?
Something to do with magnetism, I think. Dr. Rush came by this morning.
Did he bring my laudanum?
No.
Oh, I need it.
He came only to inform you that they're convening at the State House to vote on the Constitution.
Now? As we dawdle here? Why didn't you tell me, Sally?
Well, you can't be thinking of going.
Betty, order my chair.
Pappy, it's time for yourself. The water's boiled.
What's happened to your brain, woman?
Pappy!
Members of the several state legislatures.
The secretary's just now concluding. He's read out the full
Why was
statement.
I not sent for me? Do you take this for a casual event?
None of us knew for sure if we'd have a quorum.
I was by your house. Sally tells me you spent a bad night.
Bad night. This was the most important vote since independence. You're all better at burying me than my enemies. I run out of opiates. I'm in need.
Under the United States. Article 7. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states so ratifying the same. Done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present. The 17th day of September in the year of our Lord 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 12th.
Unanimous consent of the states present. We can thank the jolly old printer for that piece of business.
Unanimity. He's possessed by it. He'll not find it here on Earth.
Let him find it in hell.
Mr. President, I I confess that there are several parts of this Constitution which I do not at present approve, but I am not sure that I shall never approve them. For having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged by better information or fuller consideration to change opinions, even on important subjects which I once thought right, but found to be otherwise. I think, it's the stones.
Get off your feet, Mr. President.
No, wait, Rush, wait. Mr. President, with your kind permission, sir, Mr. Wilson will read my remarks on this most compelling subject.
In Maryland, he'd be driven off the stage for that piece of melodrama.
It is, therefore, that the older I grow, the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment and to pay more respect to the judgment of others. But though many persons think almost as highly of their own infallibility as of that of their sect, few express it so naturally as a certain French lady who, in a dispute with her sister, said, "I don't know how it happens, sister, but I meet with nobody but myself. That's always in the right." Il n'y a que moi.
Il n'y a que moi qui a toujours raison.
In these sentiments, sir, I agree to this Constitution with all its faults, if they are such.
Pennsylvania must be the first to ratify. We must.
We will. I doubt, sir, that a second convention can do better. Indeed, I am amazed to find that this Constitution approaches so near to perfection as it does.
True, sir, true. I am amazed. And I think it will astonish our enemies who are waiting with confidence to hear that our councils are confounded and that our states are on the verge of separation, only to meet hereafter for the purpose of cutting each other's throat. Sir, I consent to this Constitution because I expect no better, and because I think it is the best. What opinions I have had of its errors, I sacrifice to the public good. I have never whispered a syllable of them abroad. Within these halls they were born, and here they shall die. I cannot help expressing a wish that every member of this convention, who may still have objections to it, would with me on this occasion doubt a little of his own infallibility and put his name to this instrument to make manifest our unanimity. Sir, I move we put acceptance of unanimity to a vote.
Mr. President!
Massachusetts calls. Mr. Gary.
I fear bloodshed and disorder. As this document stands now, it will have a contrary and terrible effect. It should be presented to the people in a more mediating shape. As for Dr. Franklin's remarks, I am aware that he thinks me quarrelsome, that I object to everything that I do not myself propose. And as the only member of my delegation, indeed say the only northerner in this chamber who shall refuse to sign, I cannot but view his words as being plain and insinuating and leveled at myself.
I expected a 10-pounder and was hit by a pellet.
Gentlemen, the time has come to put the motion to a vote. The clerk will call the roll.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire votes aye.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts votes aye.
Connecticut.
Aye.
New York.
New York vote is aye.
New Jersey.
Wilson,
New Jersey vote is aye.
you see that carving on the
Pennsylvania.
general's chair?
Pennsylvania votes aye.
Ever since this convention started, I've
Delaware.
been trying to make it out.
Aye.
Now, for the first
Maryland.
time, I see it clearly.
Aye.
What do you say, Jim?
Virginia.
Is that a rising
North
or a
Carolina.
setting sun?
Aye.
South Carolina.
South Carolina votes aye.
Georgia.
Aye.
The vote, Mr. President, is unanimous.
Rising sun. Most assuredly, that sun is rising.
Here we are. This is the side view.
Are the materials in?
Huh? The materials are in, and the workmen are ready.
Well, Mr. Kyle, how much time do you give it?
Well, if the weather be good, then we can keep the rum away from the workmen.
No, I'm talking about the Constitution, man. We did it, Mr. Kyle. We did it. We took an idea, born some 14, 15 years ago, right here in Philadelphia. We made us a resolve, and now we've made us a nation.
Dr. Franklin, as far as I can see, we are a pack of waiting fishwives. The North wants this, the South wants that. The farmers don't trust the lawyers don't trust the shippers.
But that's the beauty of the process, man. Room for disagreement, but under a single roof. Understand?
Nine. How can you make a nation when you have so many people with
Well, the states will ratify, and we'll be the first. You'll see. Excuse me, Louis. Now then, look here.
Yeah.
I want this passageway arched and wide enough to admit a carriage. And here, look. We have some 16 feet of tolerance. So, a wood cellar.
Let's go downstairs and get your lunch. You too, Harriet. Mr. Kyle, can you silence your workmen a bit? We are not a tavern here.
Well, we're not a mausoleum either. Is Temple in the house?
No. You're due for a good soak, Pappy.
Where's Benny?
I'm the last one to know that.
He's your boy.
And your grandson. What chance is a mother against that?
Now, Mr. Kyle. Sir. The most important thing of all.
Precaution against fire.
Exactly.
I have already...
The wooden work of no one room should communicate with the wooden work of another room.
No, never.
The lath work under the joists and the floors, even the steps on the stairs, should be plastered close to the board.
Yes, always.
The staircases should be made of stone. The floors tiled, as in Paris. The roof should be made of slate.
Dr. Franklin.
No, it's all right.
Should I call someone?
No, it's past. It's all right. Now, Mr. Kyle, I think we've covered enough for today.
Yes, sir. I go now. I'll come back later.
Trap doors. Kyle! Kyle! Lewis, come down from there before you break your neck. Kyle! Mr. Kyle, I forgot to tell you about the trap doors.
The trap doors, yes.
Each section of roof should have a trap door of suitable dimension, so that in case of fire, we can get out on the roof to wet the shingles.
I already have notes for them here in my head.
I respect your head, Mr. Kyle, but we rely on this instead.
Franklin.
Oh. Oh.
Happy. Happy.
Lie back, man, and let me work.
I'm fine. Let me up.
I'm your doctor. I'll tell you whether you're fine or not.
Temple, take note. Quacks are the greatest liars in the world, except for their patients.
How's your head?
Screwed on, Dr. Weiss. Screwed on.
And your vision?
Fishing, I have no concussion.
Let me fish.
Waste of time. I took every step on my rump.
I heard it in the wine cellar. Sounded like cannon shot.
So, no nausea, no dizziness, no headache.
None. Did you bring my opiates?
I did.
Oh, good. I am partial to opium.
Partial. Grandpa, you're addicted.
Semantics. I'm glad John Jones is away from the city.
He's an able physician.
The next time you see him approaching the house, bar the door with a double lock. He doles it out like an ounce of rum to a sot. He's a gold mine of sadistic practice.
Opiates demolish the appetite. You need food.
I do not need food. I need to be free of pain. Temple, call Sally. Have her do the bed. I would like fresh linens to die in a decent manner.
You are not going to die, sir.
Rush, nothing in this world can be said to be certain except death. And taxes.
Bob, put them on the bed.
Oh.
Thank you. Do I eat more? No, that'll be all.
Take him away. I will not be treated with hot
Lean
dogs.
forward, will you? And this. Now there. Huh?
Oh. How's Mr. Kyle?
Gone home, Dr. Franklin.
Didn't we offer the poor man a room?
He was feeling poorly. You wanted home.
All the way to Germantown with a broken wrist?
His wrist is not broken. I bound it securely enough. That'll be fine.
Bob, will you send Sally up to me?
Yes, Master. I mean, Dr. Franklin. There's a streak of mischief, that one.
He's a slave in the house of an abolitionist. The irony is marvelous, majestic. He can't resist it. I'm not sure we don't both enjoy the situation.
How's the itching?
Better, somewhat. I might have killed that poor carpenter landing on him like that.
He'll be back tomorrow, hammering.
They're without protection.
Sir?
Workers, artisans. The whole question of hired hands suffering loss of earnings.
Yes, it is a question. How do you feel? Has the laudanum taken hold? Good. Then I'll leave.
Suppose a hired hand is in default of his labor as the result of an accident in the performance of said labor. It's wholly incumbent upon the state to devise a system of insurance whereby... Sally, where's Benny?
Gone downtown. State House. They're rioting in there. Can't call the meeting to order. Hurrah for General Washington and up the Constitution, down the Constitution, and to hell with the Virginia King. Happy if this is ratification, give me the rebellion of 76. Crowds are tremendous. They're roaming about everywhere. Rolling in the taverns, lighting bonfires. They've called out the militia. It's a circus.
They're pouring in from the rural areas to support the opposition. Judge Bryan grows every day.
They're all corruptors of the revolution, according to the judge.
He's an able jurist and wields considerable influence.
He's a maggoty-headed Irishman and a friend of Sam Adams, and I don't think I can speak worse of any man.
Oh, good for you, girl. Benny, I need him. These fingers refuse to work. Where's Temple? Where the blazes are they all?
Federalists. There's something awaits, Happy. Make no mistake. They'll ratify tonight, I'm sure of it.
I don't know, Sally. To get the bad customs of a country changed and better ones introduced, it's not the work of a day.
They've been at it since November.
Well, perhaps we're too young yet to know what we're fit for.
I'll tell you this, my sweet. From what I hear in town, not one Pennsylvanian in 20 knows the least thing about this new constitution of yours. Oh, Temple.
Temple?
Here by the fire. I'll freshen up the tea.
Thank you, Sally. How are you, Grandfather?
Fit. Any word?
They're trying to raise a quarrel.
What's the word from New York?
None.
Massachusetts?
None.
Virginia?
Patrick Henry is writing letters, making speeches. He claims that he's dying. If the Constitution is ratified, it will bury him.
Henry will come around. Madison will see to it. Temple.
Sir?
Will you reconsider? Will you go back to New York and ask Congress directly to settle my accounts?
No.
You must, Temple.
You ought to find some other way to get your money, Grandpa. I will not submit to it anymore. Their contempt is monumental. I cannot do it.
I've drafted a letter to Hamilton. I've already written to Governor Clinton. He has powerful friends in Congress. I've written a conciliatory letter to Arthur Lee. Here, let me show it to you.
Grandpa, please. You have this insatiable thirst for satisfaction. I can no longer be its proxy.
Oh? Some bread.
Discussion is finished.
I received a letter from Mirabeau this morning. He still talks of publishing an Anglo-French review. There are rumblings in Paris. Bitter talk of civil war. He asked to be remembered to you.
If there is war in France, his own writings are no small part of the agitation. And much of what he wrote, he borrowed from you.
We exchanged ideas, that's all. His passion is his, not mine.
His attack on hereditary privilege is almost wholly yours. How easily do you think that sits in a monarchy?
But the words are his.
Are you wearing your mask of innocence again? Or just blinded by old age?
Temple.
I'm losing him. There's no longer even the pretension of love between us.
These are the first off. Here, Pappy. This is the first one bound.
Mrs. Barbeau's Lessons for Children of Different Ages with Alterations Suited to the American Climate.
Thank you very much, Louis. Now wash your hands and off you go. Little Dickie's only 5, but he's already outstripped Louis in reading, who's near 9.
Because of this book?
Not exactly.
The truth is that Lewis is uncommonly slow.
Yeah, but word of it might sell books.
Your style is aglow with little white lies.
Taught by a master.
It's lovely work, Benny.
I ran up 100 copies. Here, Pappy, look at this. The speech that Wilson read for you in September at the Federal Convention. I don't know how it happens, sister, but I meet with nobody but myself that's in the right.
Il n'y a que moi qui a toujours raison.
It's a great speech, Pappy. I ran up 500 copies and they're almost gone. In 50 years, it'll rank with the New Testament. It's in great demand.
And how much per copy, you little huckster?
A penny.
Your destiny is to be what? The richest man in America?
The richest Franklin.
Why pica?
I'm partial to it.
The new Dijon type?
Yes, it stands out.
What's your slug measure here?
8 points.
Wasteful.
I wanted this paragraph to dominate.
Let the argument on the page dominate. A good compositor conserves his paper. Look here, you see, you're left with the widow. Nevertheless, it's fine work, Benny.
The speech or the printing?
In my youth, that hard-to-be-governed passion hurried me frequently into intrigues with low women that fell in my way. These intrigues were attended with some expense and great inconvenience, besides a continual risk to my health by a distemper which of all things I dreaded, though by great good luck I escaped it. Benny? Benny, where are you, boy? Get me out of this tub. Benny!
Benny is out of the house, Papa.
Oh, naturally.
Lean forward, Pappy, just a bit.
No more water.
Got to soak, Pappy. Dr. Rush is vehement.
I'm waterlogged. I'm drowning. Get me out of this tub.
Just another half hour, all right?
Sally, please.
Papa, please.
The soaking is good for my stones, but it's sure as hell on my gout. It's cold air I need, woman, frigid air. I should be out in that snow, bathing in it, up to my chin, naked as a babe. Go make my bed. I want to die on clean linen.
You take no advice. You live in a hollow log.
You're just like your mother.
I am not a goose, Pappy, to be stuffed with condescension.
Where's Temple?
Gone up to New York. In spite of the other night in the kitchen.
He should have come to me. I have letters drafted.
Exactly what he wanted to avoid. This journey is his, all his.
Any news from the State House?
They're still in session.
I'll be in the ground and a meal for maggots before we have a republic.
You will be in the ground if you do not try to conserve yourself. Compulsion to work is deadly. It touches us all.
I've not been aware of causing any problems.
Problems? Oh, Pappy. Why can't you rest? Why can't you be like all the other old men in Philadelphia? You make more uproar now than ever in the past. Even in this house, we're never at rest. Sawdust and plaster everywhere. It never ends. Workmen come and go. The racket never stops. I've had enough of it.
We cannot stop the construction now. Mr. Kyle is almost finished.
He'll never finish. You'll never be satisfied, Pappy. Nothing in your head but work. All my life, we've all been second to your projects. You sailed away to England and left us all alone. For months, you said. Turned out you meant years.
In the service of my country, I was called.
You left my mother to fret her life away and die without seeing you one last time. And now when we could sit and chat and rest and love one another, you're in a frenzy over magnetism and electricity and ratification and Lord knows what else. You'll die, and we'll still be strangers.
Sally, I hardly know how to ask your pardon. I hardly know how to justify what I do that makes you so miserable. It must be old age. I'm stupid beyond words.
It's just that it's time to rest. Isn't it?
Sally, I have never been able to desist from work. You know that. Work to me is struggle. And struggle is an instinct which arrived with my birth. My head teems with endless schemes. I can no more stop it than a mosquito can stop its buzzing. Let me tell you this. Nothing, neither my work nor my life, will amount to a bean if I do not live to see the Constitution ratified and the Republic born, once and for all.
Pappy.
Oh, it's a world turned upside down, sir, and you are well out of it.
Well, I'm not out of it yet, Morris. Nor it might be well if I were well out of it, I can tell you.
Sir.
I am racked by stones and the gout. The scurf is on me like raw skin. My body is on fire. I chafe from top to bottom. I carry on my tongue a perpetual taste of dregs. I can scarcely breathe because of the empyema. My legs won't support a pennyweight of barley. My hearing is plugged. My sight is going. In short, gentlemen, you are in the presence of a debacle. So well out of it is well worth the notion.
You know what I mean, sir.
The bellowing and strife over this Constitution will drive us mad. And I, for one, look forward to old age and a small measure of peace before the great sleep.
That's exactly my point, Morris. This great sleep you keep talking about seems harder to ratify than the Constitution. I tell you, I think death must be wholly occupied by Rhode Islanders.
There's such a perversity about them. I'm sure you're right.
Perhaps they're all riddled by gout.
Or Calvinist guilt.
That's more likely.
We have our share of perversity, gentlemen. Pennsylvania's no babe at fanaticism and pig-headed blindness.
True. Our country delegates now refuse to travel into the city to fill the quorum.
It's a fact. What's the game?
They say they are not being paid and cannot afford to leave the farm.
Which only means that they finally admitted to our majority and are caked over with the night. You know, Sally tells me that 4 anti-federalists locked themselves in a lodging in Mr. Boyd's house over on 6th Street.
And they refused to budge. But the sergeant at arms marched over with a small regiment of rock throwers. They smashed a few windows and broke down a few doors and carried out the 4 delegates, who were howling by this time like battered buffalo. Well, they were dragged to State House and jammed into their seats. And the roll was finally called. Oh, Judge Bryan. Judge Bryan jumps out onto the floor, his face white with rage. This is not the voice of the people. He cries over and over. This is not the voice of the people.
Bryan talks about the people as if we were a great pudding. One singular, consistent lump. You know, Tom Jefferson came by a few mornings ago. He showed me a letter from John Adams. Adams, too, is grievously concerned about the effect of our Constitution on a good portion of the people. He feels it's too strong medicine to go down in Massachusetts. He's expecting a fight. We're all concerned. But I believe that my faith in the document is supported by more rational arguments than any of them. Rush. If you could find a cure for the gout, you'd be given the territories for a garden to play in.
Aye. And if the sky falls, we shall catch larks. Happy. Delaware, Pappy. Delaware's the first to ratify.
Pennsylvanians, you have disgraced yourselves. Your souls will roast in hell.
Be more careful.
So I say it again and again, my fellow Pennsylvanians. Do not be afraid. The Constitution means us...
Wait. You're not clear enough. Say what you mean. Afraid of what? Do not be afraid of a single executive.
Yes. Yes, that's much better. That's very good.
Not so loud, man. Not so loud. Just talk to them.
Do not be afraid of a single executive. The Constitution means us to have a vigorous and responsible executive, which is not the fetus of a monarchy, but the safeguard against tyranny itself. Plurality in the executive would have produced a tyranny as bad as the 30 tyrants of Athens. Nor must you fear an aristocracy in the Senate. Remember, that body can pass no law without the consent of the House of Representatives. And it has constantly upon it the vigilance of the presidential veto. Citizens...
Easy now. Don't orate.
Citizens, the people of America have a specific purpose. We have a sense of nation. We are Republican. We know what we can give up and what we must keep. We are Americans.
There's nothing I can add to that, Jim. It's splendid argument. Now then, go to it. If Pennsylvania ratifies, we'll be the first of the large states. It could turn the tide in Massachusetts. Now then, run. Run, boy. Run.
Stuff yourself before we sit down to the table.
I'm hungry. I was working outside with Pappy.
Do you have any printing to keep you occupied? You haven't touched that press all week.
He wanted me to go up on the roof and take down the old lightning rod.
That's what he's hired laborers for. Man has no common sense.
Well, you know I take special care with it. You see, the whole copper top was melted. Well, that means we were hit by lightning sometime when we were in Paris, and the rod saved the house. He really is wonderful, huh?
Oh, yes, he's wonderful.
Now, speaking of common sense, why choose a day when you're so busy to make soap?
Happy insisted. Those fine French friends of his. The ladies who write on the fine paper with the lovely handwriting.
Well, what's that got to do with soap?
Aunt Jane Meekum made a batch of her special soap, and he sent some off to France, claiming it was the best ever produced for shaving and washing delicate French things. It was a long note, too. Instructions on how to pass it around. 2 cakes for Madame Helvetius and 2 for Briand. I suppose several for Marie Antoinette. Turns out that Pappy's discovered that the soap crumbles something dreadful. All those fine French ladies with bits of American soap all over the house. So he's put me to work melting it down and making new cakes so he can make a better show for himself in France.
Here, let me do that. You sit down and have a cup of tea, okay?
Benny, I don't know what to do. Seems I spend my whole day running and fetching and carrying and Lord knows what else from dawn to midnight. Great men come and go. Washington, Jefferson. They're human. They have to be fed tea and cakes. And if this has to be kept going, that's a full day's chore in itself. There's an end to it. I'm sorry I didn't mean that. It's just that I'm so tired. He's making you into the image of himself, Benny. Did you realize that? Same double edge to your mind, the same restless curiosity. Same energy that leaves everyone else behind, leaves them out. And Lord help me, I love the two of you so much I can't even bear thinking about it.
Come on, drink your tea.
It was interesting, Benny, because the results were directly observed. We laid a white cloth on the snow. We chose a full range of colors. We observed.
Pappy, it's late. Can't we finish this in the morning?
Could you sleep tonight? With the State House packed to bursting, tonight's the vote, boy. Here I am floundering like a beached mackerel. I should be there. I deserve to be there.
All right, Grandpa. Let's go on.
Now stay awake. In a few hours, I was able to determine the effect of the sun's rays on colored cloth. The black, being warmed most by the sun, was sunk to a level below the stroke of the sun's rays.
Grandpa, please, slow down.
Right faster. The dark blue almost as low. Did you hear something?
No, Pappy.
Sounded like men cheering something.
I didn't hear anything.
All right, let's get on with it. The other colors were sinking less because they were lighter. The white remained on the surface of the snow, never having entered it at all. Damn me, I swear I heard a carriage stopping. Why is there no news, Benny? Have we failed?
Pappy, you've got to calm down. Now, just finish this paragraph before you lose your train of thought.
All right, all right. May we not learn from hence that black clothes are not so fit to wear in a hot, sunny clime as white ones? What was the vote, Rush?
46 for the Constitution, 23 against.
2-1. Well, what do you say to that, boy?
I say Merry Christmas, Grandpa. 46 men. All vote.
Temple, how good to see you. When did you arrive?
Just now.
You heard about the vote in Pennsylvania, then?
On the journey.
What are people saying?
New Jersey is next.
Come, sit by me. How was the trip? How was New York? Have you eaten? Whom did you see in Congress? How are you?
I'm well. The trip was laborious. New York is madness itself. Full of whores, thieves, murderers, and pig-headed congressmen.
You've been rebuffed.
For the last time, Grandpa. I'll not do this again. I'll not be spat on again.
Did you see Tom Barclay?
I did.
Well, he's an old friend.
He's only an auditor. He has no influence.
They've had my account since I returned from France.
Means nothing to them.
They owe me 7,500 livres. Why won't they settle this account?
They would rather see you on your knees, I suppose. Squarely in the middle of Bowling Green, with Congress fully assembled. Watch you beg.
It's been 3 years, Temple. 3 years.
Leave it alone, Grandpa. Stop your petitions. Stop your infernal letters to them. Well, you're a rich man by any account. You don't need their money.
I want the money. I want it for you and Sally. For my house, for the family. Besides, it's my due. I earned it. What do they want?
They want you to die. So they'll be rid of your pestering once and for all.
How it galls me down to the marrow.
Well, you've got your portrait of King Louis. And how it sticks in their throats.
Oh, a gift of remembrance. A token from one man to another.
They say the jewels are worth a fortune. They grow furious over the idea that a monarch's picture should hang in the house of a patriot. Grandpa, we should never have gone to France.
I didn't want to go. They sent me.
You did.
I was 70 years old. I was ill. What would compel me to go?
Vanity?
Between vanity and decrepitude, there's no contest, boy. You'll find that out in time, believe me.
I was with you. I saw it all.
You saw nothing. Nothing. I was an old man. I was convinced the journey would finish me. When I left my country, its enemies were tearing each other apart. I had no money left. I'd loaned it all to Congress to help equip the armies, such as it was. The provinces were ravaging each other. I myself was suspected by everyone of everything. Besides, worst of all, I was afraid of failing.
There was something in you. Something so egotistical that no one could have stopped you.
Oh, no, I was bereft. My poor old wife had died. I had no house. I had no son. William had sworn allegiance to the English king. My own son, a loyalist. Your father betrayed me.
He followed his conscience.
He betrayed me.
Well, what did you expect from a bastard? He is your bastard as I am his. What would you expect? Your wife never hid her rage at his being under the same roof.
He knew no more of a mother than I did. He knew no more of love than I did. Stop it!
Grandpa. Temple, I've tried, ever since our return from France, to get you a post. Congress is deaf. They don't want me. It's abysmal. Why? Why?
Because I have a father who lives in England and adores the king. Can't you make a simple connection anymore?
After all those years in Paris, after your service to the delegation, to me, you should be rewarded.
I'm a Franklin, and they persist in ignoring me. That's what pains you the most.
The Temple, I've heard there's a vacancy coming. Postmaster General. I've written to Washington.
I don't want it. Stop thrashing at it, Grandpa. You're beginning to enjoy this martyrdom. You've got to stop ramming me down everyone's throat.
It's Arthur Lee. He's poisoned them with his venom.
To hell with Lee. To hell with Congress. Damn the whole hypocritical bunch. Grandpa, you remember in Paris when Voltaire was dying? And you dragged me to his bed to receive his blessing? Well, I begged you not to do it. But you wouldn't hear me. He was burning with fever. And you pushed me forward. And this great man, this immortal, lifted a puny hand and laid it on my head and blessed me in the name of liberty and God. Well, I almost vomited. Voltaire had hardly any faith in liberty and none at all in God. But you burst into tears. You were so inflated by the theatrics that you wept. You thought that you were dragging me into history. But all I saw was a stinking, rotting old man who should have been dead. Grandpa, you've had your life on your own terms. And you're a very great man. But I'm drowning in your pride. Let me go. I beg you. Let me go.
Keeping my press clean.
Yeah? Look at you. You look like a traveling tinker. It's a wonder the dogs weren't at you as you came through the street.
I hardly stopped to sleep on my way home, Ma.
Cold and wet. Bob, get those wet things off. We'll give you some breakfast and put you to bed.
Oh, later. I've got to see Pappy. Have you heard?
No, we've had no news for days now.
Oh, that's good. I want to be the first.
Bob, let me get those wet boots off.
Well, boy, what's the news?
Hello, Pappy.
Bob, heat some water. Ben, you'll have a bath.
IMA.
Oh, no, Pappy. You sent me to the Massachusetts Convention to be your reporter. You'll hear the news and hear it all, or you won't hear any of it.
You're much too happy to be bearing bad tidings.
You'll just be trying to lift your spirits, make the best out of a bad thing.
All right, get on with it.
I tell you, Pappy, I never saw so many men together. 355 men crammed into the church on Brattle Street, and the galleries packed full every day.
It only took 55 of us to write it.
Everything in Boston was ready to burst. The streets were never empty. Strangers stopped to talk to each other about the Constitution. Nobody slept. One night in a tavern, I almost got into a fearful brawl.
I'll give you a brawl if you don't get on with the story.
Happy. Remember how we expected all the big names would make the big speeches? Well, it wasn't so. Old Hancock never even showed his face for 3 full weeks.
That's his style, waiting like an old weathercock to see which way the wind will blow.
Well, they got off to a slow start. Adams was playing a private game, not showing his cards to anyone. When the debate began, everyone in the hall knew the fate of the Union was hanging in their words, and there were a lot of speeches. But the turning point was an exchange between 2 back countrymen. I've got it here somewhere, all written down. Yes. The first was an old fellow, Amos Singletree. He'd been in the legislature for years. They say he never went to school a day in his life. He got up, didn't wait for quiet, just lashed out. I say that if anybody had proposed such a constitution as this in the year 1775, it would have been thrown away at once. These lawyers and men of learning and moneyed men that talk so finely expect to get into Congress themselves and get all the power and all the money into their own hands. And then they will swallow up the liberties of the people just as the whale swallowed up Jonah. Well, he thought he'd won the day, and so did everybody else.
I can see
But
why
then a
that-
tall, skinny young man. He waited for everyone to quiet down.
Quiet.
Thank you. My name is Smith. I'm a plain man and get my living by the plow. And I beg leave to say a few words to my brother plow joggers. When I saw this Constitution, I found that it was a cure for our disorders. I did not go to any lawyer to ask his opinion. We have no lawyer in our town, and we do well enough without. My honorable old daddy back there can't think that I expect to be a congressman and swallow up the liberties of the people. I never had a post, nor do I want one. But I don't think worse of the Constitution. This is the best part, right here. Because lawyers and men of learning and moneyed men are fond of it. We must all swim or sink together. We sowed our seed when we sent men to the Federal Convention. Now is the harvest. Now is the time to reap the fruit of our labor. Oh, it was a great speech, Pappy.
Metaphors are mixed, but it's effective.
Well, then what happened? Tell us the outcome.
Come on now. Come on, Sally's right. You've played with us long enough. What was the verdict?
Oh, no, but I haven't told you how they carried old Hancock in on a chair, his legs still bound up from his attack of gout, and there are a lot of other
What
speeches.
was the vote?
It was close.
Benny!
Against ratification, 168. For ratification,
Yes?
187. We won, Pappy, we won!
Bless Massachusetts. Now it can be done.
Yeah, and then the fun began. The church bells all rang out. They fired cannon. Men were drinking and singing. We never slept all night long. We all marched over to Faneuil Hall and toasted each other like brothers. I tried talking to Sam Adams, but he was drinking much too hard. Some of the fellows had these ready just in case. The printing is very bad, but listen to the words. The bench did in Boston meet, the State House could not hold 'em, so then they went to Federal Street, and there the truth was told 'em. And every morning went to prayer, and then began disputing, till opposition silenced were by arguments refuting. Now politicians of all kinds who are not yet decided, they see how Yankees speak their minds, and yet are not divided. So here I end my federal song, close of all these verses. May agriculture flourish long, and commerce still our
The Peloponnesian army was soon on Attic soil. The Spartans, you remember who the Spartans were?
Good morning, grandfather.
Son, the Spartans, realizing the seriousness of their undertaking...
They tell me your health is much improved.
So they tell me. Run along, darling. How's the health of your farm?
Well, I suppose.
That's good land. Too good to lie there fallow.
I have no love for Jersey or for agriculture.
Too much of a gentleman?
I'm determined to leave, Pappy.
Will you advance me the fare?
No.
Not as a gift. You'll get it all back.
You still owe me 4,000 pounds sterling.
Look, I promise you, Pappy, that what...
Let's have your aunt's opinion on the subject. Sally.
I know. He wants to go back to England and live with his father.
Should I give him my blessings?
He's adrift here.
Then you say he should go.
I said no such thing.
Then you say he should stay.
I didn't say that either. Drink your tea.
True, Franklin.
Getting between you two is like a fish between two cats.
Oh, yes. You are your father's daughter.
I'm proud of it. The whole world knows my father. Your head is made of wax, Temple. Go to England if you must. But don't beg from Pappy to get you there.
All right. All right. I can find my own way. I should have known you wouldn't take my side.
I should have thought you would take his side.
I don't want either of your sides.
Well, it was good of you to speak up for me.
Oh, Pappy. Drink your tea.
If he goes, Sally, it'll be the last I'll see of him.
Why are they so pig-headed? Why won't they ratify?
Lord, I wish I could get out of this bed. I'd be flying around the country whipping up support. Who'll be the next, do you think?
Virginia for sure.
Your faith in Washington is remarkable.
He won the revolution for us.
Oh, his name won the war, perhaps, but not his record. The truth is that Washington is the only general in the Continental Army who never won a single battle.
But, Pappy, you're always saying he's the only one for president.
Yeah, we still need his name. And whatever little influence I have left is devoted to him.
Little influence? Pappy, you know you and he are the only two men the whole Union would stand behind.
Ma! Ma, come quick!
Come on, Vicky. Out you go. Pappy will be all right.
Ma, please come!
Shall I get Dr. Rush?
No. Now go into the library. The top drawer of my desk.
Pappy, you're shivering. And you're feverish.
You'll find it. Under a packet of deeds. My will.
Yes, don't worry. I'll find it. Oh, you're soaking wet.
Oh.
I'll go get Dr. Rush. Here. There. Now, don't leave him alone. Bob!
Sally, change the linen.
Bob! Go get Dr. Rush. Tell him Dr. Franklin's worse. He'd better come at once.
Is he dying, Miss Sally?
He may be.
Sally, where are you?
Put it out.
Just amusing myself. What do you think? The old man surrounded by the toys he's played with all his life. They tell me you found a benefactor.
Yes. Captain Button, skipper of the Polly Ann. I worked my way across.
I'll list some books for your diversion on the way.
It's Mr. Arthur Lee, Dr. Franklin. He appeared just now at the front door. He gave no warning at all.
Oh, Bob, show him up. Show him up. Hurry. Clear this away, Temple. And find some place to put him. The letters worked. The letters worked. I knew they would. Mr. Lee, a pleasure, sir. Forgive me if I do not rise. You know my grandson, Temple.
Sir.
Bob, tell Sally that Mr. Lee will stay to dinner.
Franklin, let's not pretend to idle courtesies. I'm here to tell you to stop besieging Congress with your letters. Save your grandson the worry of another trip.
But my accounts are due, Lee.
You'll not receive payment by opening old wounds. Every one of your letters contains a sly reference to me as the cause of your grievances.
Well, you're on the Treasury Board, and you've never been a friend of mine.
You have many friends to pander to your whims. I'll not be one of them. Your accounts will be settled when we choose to settle them. In the meantime, save your letters for your friends.
Now, Lee, wait. You're here in my house. Why not settle these accounts now in honor and good faith? Whatever disagreements we've had in the past
are even larger now. I'm on my way to Virginia, Franklin, to see what I can do to fight your Constitution.
It's not my Constitution.
And it comes straight from the devil.
Hold your tongue. You don't know what you're
Quiet,
saying.
Tim. Show some respect.
What respect? For him? He's the same as he was in Paris. That same suspicious, prying mind, trying to stir up trouble, trying to prove that he was master of the delegation.
I was trying to protect the interests of those who sent me. Your grandfather was cheating the people.
He was both of you. This is demeaning.
You know the rumors and slanders that this man spread about you. Lies about corruption, making off with public money.
I was commissioner, too. Equal in rank to you, Franklin.
My grandfather was trying to negotiate an alliance, while you were worrying about the colors of the uniforms of the Continental Army.
Yes, the wit of the French court, the king's favorite. Well, somehow, 1 million livres disappeared. 1 million livres sucked out of the colonies.
Do you think I took that money?
You were the great wheel that made everything move.
I was a public servant, and I served. As I have served in public offices for more than 50 years, I did my best. I never took 1 penny that was not my own. And now I mean to have what's rightfully mine. Now leave me, you exhaust me. Go on, run back to Virginia and try to fight my Constitution. Fight hard. But in the end, the people will have their way, and my ideas will prevail.
My fine Crabtree walking stick with the gold head curiously wrought in the form of the cap of liberty, I give to my friend and the friend of mankind, General Washington. If it were a scepter, he has merited it and would become it. To Sally Beach and her family, I leave my household goods and real estate in Philadelphia. In consideration whereof, on execution and sealing of this will and testament, they do set free their Negro man, Bob. To my daughter, Sally, I bequeath the portrait of Louis XVI, with the request that she would not form any of those diamonds into ornaments, either for herself or daughters, and thereby introduce or countenance the expensive, vain, and useless fashion of wearing jewels in this country. To my son, William, in England, I leave the Nova Scotia land, and that is all. The part he acted against me in the late war will account for my leaving him no more of an estate than he endeavored to deprive me of.
What a mind. He just invented a form of punitive philanthropy. Model for all time.
Let her go on, will you?
To my grandson, Temple, I leave my books and papers and deed to all my land in Georgia, together with the bond in judgment I have against him of 4,000 pounds sterling, hereby abolishing the debt for good. I will the remainder of my estate be divided into 4 equal parts, 2 of which I give to my dear daughter, Sarah Beach, 1 part to her son, Benjamin, and 1 part to my grandson, Temple Franklin.
I see that, Sally.
You would have my head if you'd known I'd read it to you.
It's not my place to say it, Temple. How much time do you think he has left?
Temple, I thought you'd be under sail. Was the tide against you?
I'm not going, sir. This is home to me. Who's winning?
I am.
Virginia. Virginia has ratified. It is done, Ben. The nation is born. Now out, both of you. This gentleman needs his rest.
Temple.
Sir?
Stay. I'm troubled about our friends in France. I'd like to reply to this letter.
I'm ready, sir.
Dear Madam, the troubles you have had in Paris have afflicted me greatly. I hope by now they are over, and that everything has been settled as it should be, to the advantage of both the king and the nation. If this struggle secures for the nation its liberty and a good constitution, a few years' enjoyment of those blessings will amply repair the damages. And God grant that not only the love of liberty, but a thorough knowledge of the rights of man may pervade all the nations of the earth, so that a philosopher may set foot anywhere on its surface and say, "This is my country." Check.
And Aunt, he asked me to change the linen so he could die in a decent manner. Temple and my son Benny were with him until he died quietly about 11 on the night of April 17th, having lived more than 84 years. And no other town ever buried more of itself than Philadelphia when they buried him. They tell me more than 20,000 people were there, the largest gathering ever in our city. They tolled the bells. And when they lowered Pappy into his grave, a whole company of militia fired the funeral guns. The simple stone reads only Benjamin and Deborah Franklin. As in everything else, Aunt Jane, Pappy would have wanted the last word on his death. So I'll close this letter with the epitaph he wrote in jest when he was just a boy of 22, first setting himself up in business. The body of B. Franklin, printer. Like the cover of an old book, its contents torn out and stripped of its lettering and gilding, lies here, food for worms. But the work shall not be lost, for it will, as he believed, appear once more in a new and more elegant edition, revised and corrected by the author.